I think that sometimes you feel like, you wake up and it's like, Lord, the clients ain't doing this, or somebody frustrated me, or whatever going on at home. And so I think sometimes you just got to remember, one, feelings are not facts. Feel what you need to feel it, and move on. And, making sure that you have peace and joy deep down inside, whether that means, I need to get an accountability partner, I need therapy, I need whatever you need to do for you to be the best you, for you to be that for everybody else, as well as to believe in yourself, then do what you need to do. So for me, whenever I get these feelings of like, I don't know, and Lord, I just want to retire and be a dog, stay-at-home dog mom right now, then, I catch myself, write it out, feel what I need to feel, but then don't wallow in it and dwell in it, and then move forward.
That's good.
And usually something great happens. And I always say, what is it? I think it's a scripture about that. Like, the breakthrough is like right around the corner. You just got to keep going. So whenever you're feeling kind of whatever, keep going, because the breakthrough is probably literally right there. And you're almost there. You just got to keep going.
Holding me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ari Squires, and welcome again to the Release the Chains podcast, where we have real, raw, and revolutionary discussions about helping people just like you release your emotional, mental, financial, and generational chains. And today I am so excited. I'm always bringing on just dope people, dope women, dope men who have a lot to share about themselves, their lives, and their businesses. And this is Evonya Easley. She has over a decade of experience empowering men and women using the power of style. Her work has appeared on Disney, VH1, MSNBC, Fox, and more. So recently, she's built a Style by Love E, giving everyone access to an interactive shopping experience. And I believe that's an app.
Yes,
is that correct?
It is an app.
So to sum it up, you are a fashion stylist. How did you get started with that?
Yes, I am a certified personal stylist. And I got into it as a woman, and not every woman loves clothes and fashion, but I did. And I didn't originally. I was in high school. I love clothes. I love dressing myself, and people like the way I dress. But like, oh, that's cute. Where you get that? Your shoes cute. Your outfit cute. Whatever. And I'd be like, oh, I got it from here. I got it from there. And I started like helping family and friends. I thought it was a fun little hobby, something to do. Mind you, this is pre-social media, so social media did not exist. And a lot of times you can't be what you don't see or what you're exposed to. And I grew up in Charleston, born in Atlanta, so I wasn't. Like, it wasn't like a New York or LA or Paris where I knew that people did this for a living. I didn't think this was a job. I never thought about like who dressed people on TV or who dressed people for magazines. I just didn't think about that. So
especially back then. That was what, maybe 2000?
2001 was when I graduated college. So I just was like, I'm just going to do this for fun. And it's a way to let my creative juices out while I do the traditional, what I've been raised to do. You go to college and you get a good job. That's what my parents stressed. So I went to college, I graduated, I got the good job. And while I was doing that, I still love fashion, still was shopping. I went to a fashion show, and it was like, every time we see you, you're so fly. Would you do a fashion show for us? And I said yes immediately. Knowing I didn't know what I was doing.
Never done it before.
But I was like, it's not rocket science. I'm going to figure it out. So I was like, you put clothes on a model. How hard can it be? So I reached out to every store I personally shop with and said, hey, I got asked to do a fashion show. Can I borrow clothes? And they said yes. Now that's considered pulling and considered being networking and being strategic. But I wasn't. That was just who I was as a person. So the stores liked me anyway. So that's why I was just like, well, I spent a lot of money with them, because with my good job, I was spending all my money shopping. Mind you, pre-recession, I'm in my 20s, not thinking about, you need to be saving and think about your future. I'm 22, 23, whatever.
It's just shopping. That's all we know about anyway at that time.
Shopping and traveling. That's all I was doing. So once I did the show and I got a good response, they paid me to do it. And that was the first time it was like the seed was planted, like, they paid me to do this. Maybe other people are paying me to do this. Maybe this could be a real job.
Wow.
So that kind of sparked let me do some research and figure out if this is a real job and how do I get involved in it. So I did, and I started reaching out to everybody and kind of putting it out in the world like, hey, I'm really interested in this. If you know anybody, let me know, just to let the world know as well as everybody around me, and then putting it out by speaking it into existence. So I'm a big believer in manifestation, and what your thoughts are, they'll become your reality. So for me, making sure I was thinking like, okay, this is going to happen. So I moved to Atlanta, and a hairdresser heard me talking about it, and she was like, oh, I do hair for Fashion Week in New York, and I do the Barnum Brothers show. I do the hair. So I know stylists. I can connect you with a stylist and maybe you able to work with her. So I met her stylist, and I interned for her, and then I started working for Michael Knight, and he was on Project Runway at the time here in Atlanta. So I started interning for him and assisting him, and I met a lot of people and just kind of built up my resume and portfolio. And then I got an opportunity to dress the anchors for Fox 5, and then they sent me to Channel 2, and then they sent me to Channel 11. And so from there I just kept building up. The whole time working my day job. So the news came on. I did not realize it came on at 4 in the morning. So I got up at 3 to be at the station by 3:30, dressed the anchors for the air, and then went to my day job at 9. Because that's how bad I wanted to like put myself out there to make it happen. And then the recession did happen, the first one. Not the one that's constantly coming. Yes.
We all know about that recession, honey. Yes.
And so when that happened, I was like, okay, that's don't affect me. But eventually it trickled down to everybody. And so by 2010, I had lost my job. Working full time. They basically couldn't afford to, they started letting everybody go. So I was like the last one. So when they let me go, I was dressing the anchors on TV. So when they let me go, I was like, hey, I'm available full time. And the thing about it is just not knowing the business and being naive to just entrepreneurship and always had working a job and used to get paid every 2 weeks. I thought that when I went to work at the stations, it was going to be like E! News or Good Morning America. Like, oh, of course they'll pay me to do this because this is a major network. No, that's the LA and New York thing. Atlanta market is not set up for that. And smaller markets, as they call it, as they were paying for makeup artists, but they were like, it's on the anchors to make sure they show up a certain way. So they was like, the anchors have to pay me.
Is it still like that now?
I don't even know. Hopefully they have changed that because I've moved away from that now in regards to working for the station. Now I work directly for anchors.
Okay.
So like one of my best clients.
So they hire you to style them. Got it.
Instead of, but I thought at the time if I go through the station, it would be more like job security. Like, oh, okay, Fox can pay me because I know they can afford to pay me versus an individual client. But now the best route is to go through the clients. And they're making enough from their contracts. I mean, they got agents negotiating contracts. One of my anchors had a house in the country and a condo in the city. So I was like, what the heck? So I originally did it for free, and then when I told them like, okay, well I can't continue to like do this, and then I lost my job too. I was like, hey, this is not gonna work. Because at this point, I'm grown. I'm not in my 20s.
You got bills.
I have a child. At the time I had a house, a BMW. I was like, Big Mama got bills. We gotta get this
I'm
money.
like, for real. You like for real living.
Like I'm a real grown up at this point. And so
wow.
I was like, okay, let's figure it out. So I told the anchors, and they were like, okay, well we'll pay you. And so they started paying me. But the great thing about it is I met so many people in the green room, and those are the people that became my clients. Okay. So one was a PR girl.
That makes sense.
And she was like, you dress regular people? And I'm like, the anchors are regular people. But okay. Yes, I do. And so I started dressing her. And then she introduced me to her best friend who was in pharmaceutical sales. Started dressing her. And the funny thing about that is she's still my client to this day.
Wow.
My very first client.
That's how you know somebody is good at what they do.
And so I just evolved from there, built the business, kind of figured out who was my customer, figured out how to price and set systems and processes in place.
How'd you figure? Let's go back there because you know me, I'm a business coach, right? So I know that it's so important, and you've been saying a lot that I want to go back to, but knowing who your customer is, how did you go through that process? Because that's a huge piece in being successful as an entrepreneur.
Well, I think when I first got in it, I assumed because I didn't know the industry, like, okay, if I work for TV, I'll guarantee to get paid. And then I got that surprise shock. When I was like, okay, so that's not the move. Right. And then I went and did a movie for Disney, and I was costuming. So, of course, Disney's paying me. That's cool, but I didn't like the hours. My daughter was in elementary school at the time, but you had to be on a movie set for like 14 hours. I did not know that. So when I went to be on set, I was leaving at 5 in the morning. She'd be asleep. And when I got home at 9, 10 o'clock, she'd be asleep. So I basically didn't see her for 2 weeks while I was doing this movie because she'd be asleep. So I was like, okay, movies is not the move. My child's too young for that. And I don't want to be working on sets all the time and never see her. So from there, when I got that client, the PR client, and then the pharmaceutical, I was like, I like these busy professionals. They have disposable income. I can set my own hours and they're decent, like during the day.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
So you found what worked for you to that you weren't like overextending yourself, because a lot of times entrepreneurs tend to, wherever the money is, you know how they say follow the money. I'm like,
now in the beginning I
you
did.
don't want to follow the money, but that don't last though. That don't last.
Because I had to figure it out.
Exactly. You got to figure out what works best for you and then your customer and what they want. So that's good.
I did a little bit of everything from the TV, the film. I've done Fashion Week around the world. But once I did everything, I also kind of let me figure out where I wanted to be, and working with private clients and actually being able to see the impact that it had. Because working on a movie, like, I don't see people's response when they watch the movie.
Right.
And most of the time they're paying attention to the plot, not the clothes per se, unless it's a fashion movie.
That's true.
So my thing is working with private clients is like, hey, you know what? I killed that contract. I got that big client. I got a promotion. I got this. I got that. And the wardrobe played a part in it. So being able to get the response and feedback, I really love that. As well as the flexible hours and just working with people privately one-on-one. It's actually more money there than it is in all the entertainment stuff until you get into a place where you're working for like a Beyonce or Oprah.
Right. You're like privately exclusive.
Exactly.
Which that can happen for you.
Yes, it could. But then at that point, you're also tied to this client and their whims in regards to like, okay, if I say move and be on the private jet.
Then it's kind of like you're an employee versus an entrepreneur.
I kind of run, like I said, like a client called me on the way here and I'm like, first off, why are people calling me without no notice? We didn't have no schedule call.
Right,
so I just sent the text and was like, I'm not available, but we can chat tomorrow. I'll reach back out to you. He's like, oh, my bad. I just realized it was Sunday night. I didn't think about that. My bad. So just setting up boundaries.
Yeah, that's so important.
And not feeling like, okay, every time a client call, I got to break my neck to answer it or respond immediately.
One thing I saw on your website that you said, we said, let your wardrobe do the talking. Girl, I love that because listen, let me just be honest. Because I met Evonya at a conference in LA. Yeah. And I don't know what, our energy just clicked.
Yes.
You just came, I think you sat behind me or next to me. I don't know. But I was like, oh, she fly. And we just started conversing and we just clicked. And she styled me for a photo shoot.
Because you flew to Atlanta because you weren't living here yet.
I wasn't living in Atlanta yet.
At the W Hotel.
At the W Hotel, yes. And she came and she brought all her clothes, very professional, brought all the clothes. I tried them on. And actually, a lot of the photos that you see that I'm still using to this day, that was like 3 years ago. 2 or 3 years
I
ago.
love the one where you buy the chair and the teal, dark teal,
and the black
with the skirt,
the leather
and the
shoes. You picked out the shoes too.
Exactly. Because I did bring you shoes.
You did. And so she
you
styled
put the pictures to good
because
use.
I sure and I still use them, honey.
Yes.
Because I am a tomboy. Yeah. Like if you go in my closet, you see the red bottoms and all the little heels and stuff, but I don't never wear them shoes. I wear them for photo shoots, maybe going out on a date, and maybe girls' night. Yeah. But I am a sneakerhead and boots.
Yes.
So I need it, but I am a influencer. Yeah. I'm a speaker. I'm a business person.
So sometimes you gotta, switch it up for your audience and put on, maybe a fly suit and some heels and all that.
So what do you mean by that? Let your wardrobe do the talking.
Well, the thing is your presence. When you walk into a room, light travels faster than sound. And then studies show that people make 11 assumptions about you in the first 7 seconds of meet. So before you even get a chance to say who you are and give your speech, people are looking at you immediately like, just what do you look like? Like, does she look disheveled? Does she look put together? She look polished. Yeah. And then when you start talking, hopefully all of that lines up and matches. Like, oh, okay, wow. She looked great and she actually, matches with how she looks. Versus like, oh, wow, she's smarter than I thought because based on how she looked, so we're a visual world and we live in a visual medium. And so it's important to make sure you're representing what you want the world to see.
I love that because, like I said, I'm a straight tomboy, but I knew that
you put it together really cute.
I knew that that I needed to make some shifts because as you're like, okay, so there's 7 steps to releasing the chains, and one of those, the final step is evolving. Yeah. And when I met you in my business, I was in a place of evolving, and so I had to get out of the I'm just gonna show up however I want to show up, and know that hold on, I'm gonna be showing up for $1 million deals, and I'm gonna meet some, some.
And you want to look like money to attract money too,
honey. Let me tell you something. And it was one of those things I never really understood until I understood it. Yeah. But I also to still believe that you still have to be authentic. You
Yes.
get what I'm saying? You
Yes.
still got to be who you are, because at the end of it, it's my mouthpiece
Yes.
that's going to get the deal closed, but it may be the wardrobe that get me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, she about her stuff.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I love that.
No, and I agree, because I always tell people, like people like, I don't know, I don't want to look like somebody else. And I'm like, no, style is really like, to me, like makeup. You're not supposed to put on so much makeup you're unrecognizable.
Right.
It's to enhance your natural features. Like, oh, it's going to highlight your beautiful eyes or your full lips. So with style, my thing is to elevate your style and bring out the best version of you. Not to dress you like me or my next client, but to dress you like the best version of you, whatever that may be.
Right.
And even if it's not like, oh, I don't want to wear a suit, I don't want to wear heels. Cool, we don't have to do that. Because I got plenty of clients, especially most of my clientele is over 35. Like, hey, don't bring me no 6-inch heels, no 4-inch heels, no red bottom, nothing. Them shoes are not comfortable. I want to be stylish and I want to be comfortable. Give me a wedge, and I got to make it, make sense and make it work for that client, because they're paying me to be the best version of themselves, not to look like somebody. And if you're not comfortable in it, it's going to show, and that's not a good representation for you or me. So I want you to show up and look like your best self, and still feel like this is me. It's just an elevated me that I would have not thought about putting together, because that's not where I spend my energy.
Let me tell you something. That's the thing that I love about us having a stylist, is because you can bring out our features that we don't necessarily feel are our best features, and you take us outside of what we're used to.
Because I get so many people, oh my God, I would have never picked this up in the store, but okay.
Right. Yep.
And you're like, oh wow, I wouldn't. And I always say it's about minimizing our flaws and maximizing our assets. So the parts that we love or don't love, we can still make it a way where it shows up that you look good overall and you feel good. And the most important thing is you feel good. So when you feel good, that's what's going to come out in your energy and how you carry yourself and how other people see you. Like, oh, she look confident. She look like, and because you feel good, all of that is radiating. So it's not about the clothes; it's about the woman that's wearing clothes.
There you go. That's so true. But dude, when you do look good, you do feel better. It does boost your confidence. It just makes you feel like I can do anything. And then you got the everything else to match it, and it just makes perfect
sense. Your hair done, your face beat, all of the things. So
it just all goes together.
No more chains holding me.
Are you 100% sure you're going to have a great retirement, or do you have some doubt? What if I could show you how to get out of debt in 9 years or less using a proven system that works, including your mortgage, without you spending any more money than you're already spending right now? Would that be a conversation you'd be willing to have? If so, contact Sharon L. Jennings. She is a certified Your Family Bank authorized representative. Email Sharon at lifetowealth@gmail.com for a complimentary consultation.
No more chains holding me.
So, you have been in business for a long time, so I'm sure you have a lot of business advice. I know I work with a lot of clients there's just several different things they're looking to do, and the main thing is how. What are those steps? It is different for everybody. But what would be in for the fashion space? If someone wants to be a stylist, or they want to pull for people, or they want to work with, influencers, celebrities, or not. Because it doesn't have to be a celebrity either. What's your advice for them, like business advice?
Yes. I would say the first thing is research. Like, really, I feel like, I don't know if it's this generation or just everybody wants the microwave. And you got to read. You got to do the research and really understand. And a lot of times people are asking questions that they could have looked up, did some research. And they just want you to give it to them. Like, just tell me. And so I feel like I still do, but did a lot of research to figure out, one, how does the industry work? Where do I want to be in the industry? And that was the reason I worked all the different roles. So it's almost like, oh, I want to be a doctor. And then you get in there and intern as a candy striper and realize, wait a minute, I'm scared of blood. I hate blood. Like, that's probably not the path for you, but you don't realize it until you actually get in the environment. Sometimes you think you want to do a job, then you get in there and realize, this is not for me.
Really like this.
So I knew I loved clothes. I love fashion and fabrics. But where did I want to be? Did I want to be a costumer, which is the movies? Or did I want to work with celebrities? Did I want to work with regular people? Did I want to be a visual merchant? And so many jobs in the fashion industry.
It is.
And most people just think of designer or stylist. But there's so many different roles. I mean, there's somebody that just picks out the buttons or picks out fabrics for people to make garments. So there's so many different things you can do. So kind of really doing the research to figure out where do I want to fit in, and then being able to intern in different areas to see what I like, what am I good at, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and then going from there. So research, I would say first,
That's
to
important.
really understand the industry you want to get in, and then figure out where do you want to be in the space.
That's good. That's good. And I know you talked about your thoughts become things, right?
Yes.
And so that's a big, huge thing. With I have 7 steps to release the chains that apply to our personal life as well as business. And one of those is believing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Believing in ourselves. Because I think that we want it. We can want something so bad. We can want, the dream home, the dream car, the dream man, the dream business, the dream life. But then there's some sort of story sometimes that we keep telling ourselves, or there's something that happened to us that was very traumatic in our lives before, or maybe we have a parent that somebody in life told us we was never going to amount to anything.
Yes.
So something is going on where we don't believe in ourselves. So I love, because I live by thoughts become things.
Yes.
And I believe it was Eckhart Tolle who said that. And I love that you said that, because I think it's so important.
Yeah.
What has been your experience, your personal experience with thoughts becoming things and manifestation?
Yeah, well, I think I was really blessed to have a family that really was supportive in regards to being a woman and being a black woman. Sometimes we can be at the bottom of the totem pole to the society. So my family always was like, y'all can do whatever y'all want regardless of being black. Or so having that instilled in me. And of course, growing up as a kid, I thought everybody family was like that. And then I get in college and you meet people from so many different backgrounds.
Right.
And just as you grow up. So I was really blessed that I had parents that made me feel like you're confident, and then I instilled that same confidence in my child. So I think the confidence factor helped. And then my family has also been big on you write down, you pray, you have faith, but you got to put some action behind it. So for me, it's always I write in my journal every morning and write out this is what I want for my business, the people in my life, blessings on not just me, but the people around me, my team, and that, I have wisdom and discipline and the things that are going to make me better for my business and for my clients, and just writing it out, believing it, vision boards, and kind of writing the vision, make it plain type of thing.
Yeah.
And then speaking it out this is what's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. And not really speaking words of doubt or, I don't know.
Because it's energy, and you really believe. You begin to believe it. You know, I've had so many conversations just today on Facebook. I just made a post and I was like, I'm not going to debate this, but everything.
I said what I said.
I said what I said. Everything does not have to be so negative.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Let's because the negative energy. If you always talking about a man is cheating, he's a cheating dog, and he ain't. And
that's
all
what you
men
gonna
ain't.
get.
Then that's what you gonna get.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing applied to our life and our relationships and our friendship. That's why I attract people like you who have great energy. We're on the same realm, frequency. You know what I mean? It's like you attract that because you put it out and you speak it. What has been your biggest challenge with that? Because it's not always easy.
Yes.
Let's just be honest.
Yes, it's not. It's not always easy. I think whenever I think that sometimes you feel you wake up and it's like, Lord, the clients ain't doing this, or somebody frustrated me, or whatever going on at home. And so I think sometimes you just got to remember, one, feelings are not facts. Feel what you need to feel it, and move on. And, making sure that you have peace and joy deep down inside, whether that means, I need to get an accountability partner. I need therapy. I need whatever you need to do for you to be the best you, for you to be that for everybody else, as well as to believe in yourself. Then do what you need to do. So for me, whenever I get these feelings of I don't know, and Lord, I just want to retire and be a dog, stay-at-home dog mom, like that, then, I catch myself, write it out, feel what I need to feel, but then don't wallow in it and dwell in it, and then move forward.
That's good.
And usually something great happens. And I always say, what is it? I think it's a scripture about that. The breakthrough is right around the corner. You just got to keep going. So whenever you're feeling kind of whatever, keep going, because the breakthrough is probably literally right there. And you're almost there. You just got to keep going.
And I feel like too, the tougher things get, because I know we've all been there, right? We grown, right? The tougher things get, and the more challenging, and the more roadblocks, and the more stuff you got to go through. That's that's when you really almost like right there. And so many people give up, and I just like to encourage people to just keep going no matter how difficult it seems, you know. It's just you gotta find something, and again it goes back to the 7 steps of, you know, peeling back those layers and what is it that causes me to want to quit, or why am I feeling this way in the first place, you know, getting to the root of it, and really tackling it. But I love that you said, could you say get in your feelings, not get your feelings, but feel your feelings.
Feelings are not facts, and feelings then you need to just feel them for that moment for what they are, but don't let them like overwhelm you and just be like, woe is me, and the pity party just lasting forever. Like, you got to just feel your feelings and then just try to go on and keep pushing forward.
I love
because
that.
It's not, because I'm feeling sad today don't mean I'm sad.
Right.
At the end of the day, I have peace and joy deep down inside. So just bringing that back up, feeling my sadness, and then pushing past it. Because we're going to feel all kind of emotions in life and in a day, depending.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Depending on the day. Like, especially women, because we have hormones. We have different things that we go through, and men too. And that's one thing I want to talk about briefly is, I know you're a woman, but I think that we got to give a message to the men and tell them that it's okay for you to feel your feelings too.
Exactly.
And for you to express those feelings, because you're still human. And I hate when people try to, especially successful entrepreneurs, try to act like everything is all good, and then it creates that false microwave success hope that you can have it all tomorrow.
I mean, and it's definitely no overnight success. I mean, even a lot of the people were like, oh my God, you know, I read, what was the actor that played in I can't even remember. It was the movie where he was driving somebody in the green car. It was like a map. I can't remember. But anyway, he finally won an Oscar, but he had been acting for like 10 years already. And it was like, oh, overnight success. And it's like, no, this man been putting in the work.
Right.
And he finally got recognized.
Before that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's just about, one, doing something that you truly love and you're passionate about, that you can see it through. Because as you know, entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster.
It
ebbs, it flows, it's ups and downs, and twists and turns. And so, you know, you're not going to feel like it every day. And that's where discipline to me kicks in. Because regardless of what I feel like, I got to be disciplined enough to push through to still do the work. Because when you're working for yourself, nobody's telling you, hey, you got to do this, you got to clock in at this. You got to just motivate yourself to get up and do the work. You're not going to see results if you don't do the work.
I totally agree.
No more chains holding me.
She's a CEO is the ultimate family card game and also an educational business toolkit for seasoned and aspiring entrepreneurs. It's fun, it's challenging, it's educational. Get some knowledge and pay some homage. There are a few ways to play for the most enjoyment and benefit. Play your favorite card games: spades, gin, poker, bid whist, or whatever your family loves to play. Are you ready to be mentally challenged in a fun way? Play our signature BizWiz business development matchup card game. The objective is to collect the most customers correctly, based on matched business development statements we've created for you. Each week, research one of the noted entrepreneurs we've celebrated in the deck by pulling 1 or 2 random cards from the deck. Use the cards for daily, weekly, or occasional inspiration. Read their stories and learn more about the chains they've had to release to create long-term success and a legacy that will last forever. She's a CEO, a SheEO. Visit she'sasheo.biz to order your official business educational card deck today.
No more chains holding me.
So I'm so glad that we're having this discussion. So I'm sure that you had to muster all that up, right? Believing in yourself to develop an app, which I think is phenomenal. Tell us about this app that you have, and of course the name of the app, and what made you come up with it.
So the app is Style by Love E, and we're actually about to release our V1 later in next month, August. And for non-technical people. That means version 1. We have an MVP out right now, which is available on the App Store. But basically, I created it because I wanted to give access to everyone to have a stylist. A lot of times, stylists are for celebrities or just high net worth individuals. They're have very important jobs or careers. But what if you're just like, hey, I'm a school teacher and I want a nice outfit for me and my husband's anniversary, and I want to feel, pampered and like the VIP that I am. So I wanted to create an app that was like an Instacart or Uber, but for styling. Because right now there's not really any companies that do that in person. They'll send you a box with clothes, but if you get a box and you don't know what to do with the clothes or know how to style yourself, you're just gonna look at the box and be like, none of it worked, and send it back.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure people felt like they had an experience. So we're doing the shopping for you, bringing it to you,
Very
and
nice.
feeling you're getting that VIP experience like you're the celebrity, because you are the celebrity for us that day when we're styling you. So it's giving you a slice of style. That way you can build your style over time. It's more affordable than working with an independent stylist or just a stylist like me in general. So I wanted to just make sure that style was accessible. And I feel like those are companies that have done it in other industries. So why haven't we done it for style? Like, we can order almost anything from our phone. So why not style?
That is so dope. I remember when you were telling me about it, like, I got the app. I was like, that is such a great idea.
It was a lot more
and
work.
And I know it's your team. I know. And that's the thing. Like, as entrepreneurs, most entrepreneurs are creative. Like, we can come up with ideas and they're like so bomb. But then it's like, okay, even like this podcast, I had no idea. Even though I went to school for television and film production, but this little setup, it's a lot of work. It's a production. It's like, and then you're like, damn.
And you got to edit and all the things.
Like, what was I thinking? But because of the passion, because of the desire, because you want to help people, it's like you just keep doing it, and you figure out you figure out as you make your mistakes, right?
Exactly.
And so I want to talk about that because I have a son, you have a daughter. How old is your daughter?
She's 22 now.
Okay, all right. I have a 27-year-old. Okay, and I have a 14-year-old as well, and he's the one that I'm always reminding that you're gonna mess up. You gotta mess up. Like, that's
because you're gonna learn from it.
You're gonna learn so much from it. But again, because I work with entrepreneurs, even though now the type of entrepreneurs I work with now are 6 and 7 figure, so they've gone through the motions of that startup, and now they're just looking to elevate and move on to other things. But when I do courses and smaller events, and I'm doing workshops for other people and their people, I run into people who quit too soon. They quit too soon. Just like we were talking about, you could just be right on the edge of your breakthrough. But I think that people need to know, what do you do, right? Like, what can they do in those moments where they fail so many times?
Yeah, I think you got to learn from your mistakes. I think if I could go back in regards to when I first started my businesses, I would have got invested in myself more in regards to like business coaches. There's only so much you can learn from Google University.
True.
So investing in coaches and mentors,
especially
and people,
someone in the field that you've been in.
Exactly. Yeah. Investing in those kind of people in the beginning. I know a lot of times people, when they first get in business, they tight with the money because you don't have a new business. You don't have much when you first start. I'm gonna spend it on my website and my marketing, but you need to be spending it on guidance as well.
Yes, amen.
Because you're gonna make a lot less mistakes if you have somebody guiding. Because somebody who's already been through it is like, why learn all this stuff when everything under the sun has already been done. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to just learn how to tweak it for our business. So if we're in touch with people in our industry, in our field, that have already done it, been there, done it, or some kind of expertise, they can give you some guidance, and then you can, take it from there. So I think I would have invested. Now, when I built the app, I did bring people on board because one, is technology, and I'm not a coder. I don't develop anything. So
but that's smart, though. That's smart.
Yeah, I brought people on, and then I immediately got into like, okay, I need somebody who's coached and who's scaled businesses to millions of dollars because it's different levels. So when I first got into business, it was like, let me just replace my accounting income. Then it was like, everybody want to hit the 6 figures. Okay, do that. And then it's like, okay, well now, I can make millions of dollars, and it's actually possible. But I think also that it goes back to exposure. Growing up, I didn't see anybody, a person of color, making millions. And even now, that I'm in this technology space, it's women in their 30s, younger than me, 7, 8-figure companies that they've created in their 20s while they was in college on their own, their own black Mark
But
Zuckerberg.
don't you just love how, and I've had this conversation too, how me too, growing up, it was like a millionaire. If you knew a millionaire, like, that was like,
yes.
Now it's like, nah, sis, my homegirl.
Exactly. It's
but
a millionaire.
I love that, especially seeing women of color and men of color.
Out here getting it.
Yeah, so I just love that.
And living here is even better because to me, this is one of the blackest cities, I think, in America. But you see black people doing so well. Yeah. And I think it's just such a, a good example of, what you can do. And you don't have to necessarily be a celebrity or play a sport, but actually doing well in business.
And what you love doing. Yeah. That's the beauty of it. So, I'm sorry. So, the app. So, okay, no. What were we talking about before that? What was my question? We were talking about
the app.
The quitting. Quitting and getting. So, you wish that you would have invested in
business coaches and mentors earlier. Now, when I started building the app, I joined all the different accelerators and programs so I could learn and kind of, learn on the learning curve in regards to technology. Because like I said, that was a whole nother space. At the end of the day, I know my craft, but trying to apply it to technology was totally different. And the lingo and what it takes to scale to millions of dollars and to be able to sell it one day and create generational wealth and legacy.
Hold on because I always run across people who have unrealistic goals. Ooh, and I'm not trying to
be a dream killer.
Killer, right? Because I've had a dream killer in my life before. Yeah. But it's the reality too. You get what I'm saying? So it's like when you said there's levels, right? Yeah. So there are levels. Yeah. And I think that some people do have success fast, but not overnight.
Yeah,
but
I don't feel like it's fast. Yeah, too much.
I think you have to understand that. Okay, set a goal for this number or this thing. Yes, I always ask people, how do you want to? What do you want your brand to represent? In 1 year. 3 years, 5 years. How do you want your brand to feel? What do you want people to say about your brand? And then how much money you want to make? Those are the questions I ask my client so we can start building to that.
Exactly.
But and it's so funny because a lot of times I'll hear, if I'm speaking or, at an event or workshop, and I'll ask them how much money they want to make in the next 12 months, and they like $1 million. I'm like, okay, but
are you already at 6?
Have you made 50,000? Have you even made 10,000? You know what I mean? So I just
it got to be realistic.
It has to be realistic, and I think the more realistic it is, the easier it is to attain. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I agree because I have style students because I train other people who want to get into business and style, and I'll meet them. And why do you want to be a stylist? Why do you want? Because I always qualify everybody before I teach them to make sure that I can actually help them. Yeah. Well, I want to start a clothing line and open a boutique and do style. Hold up, slow your roll. Those are 3 different jobs, and they all come with their own set of skills, money,
and plan.
Exactly. So that's a lot. You need to pick one. Let's work on that, and then you can branch off later. Yeah. My coach used this example, and I was like, "That's a good point." He was like, Michael Jordan. He was like, one of the few athletes that got to $1 billion status. And he was like, the thing is that, what did you start with? Basketball. And he built off of what he was good at. Yeah. Not tried to get out here and be like, I'm going to do basketball and movies and play baseball and release shoes. Yeah. He was like, so you maximize yourself at what it is you do well. And then you can branch off to all of these other things of like, now that I'm a brand, now let's start the clothing line. Now let's do this. Now let's do that. Which is why even with my app, I didn't start it when I first got in my business. And I wasn't thinking about no apps or technology back then anyway. But waiting until I was at least established as, okay, I at least know that's what that girl do. If they don't know nothing else about me, I've been consistent. And people are like, the chick that do fashion or style or something with that, let me connect you with her, whether you know exactly what I do or not, you know it's in that vein. It wasn't like, last year she was selling tea and this year she's styling and then she was doing hair, and it's been consistent this whole time, anybody that's known me. So at least now the app is leveraging what I've already created versus if I just built it with, who are you? Right. What are you doing? So I think
that's
it's important to understand.
It's levels.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's levels.
It's levels to this. You always want to share what you felt like you wish somebody had told you when you were going through stuff to make it easier for the next person. And then they maybe can get there a little quicker because they're not spinning their wheels or
trying to figure
out a lot of stuff that they could have had if they had some guidance. I'm like, look, don't do this, do that.
Yeah, and it does create, it does shorten your learning
Yes.
curve, but you still got to know that you're still going to make your own mistakes.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You
And
are.
that's what I think people forget. It's like it's a chain, right?
Yeah.
So the chains that I always talk about during the podcast and just in life in general when I'm talking to people are mental chains, emotional chains, financial chains, generational chains. In the work that you do, what do you see most prevalent in the Black community? Mental, emotional, financial, generational that we as a people need to release.
I would probably say financial. In regards to, with me being in the industry like clothes and retail, Black people are the biggest consumers.
Yeah.
But we do not own the way we should.
Absolutely.
And because we spend it so much.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that goes back, of course, to slavery and not being able to have stuff. So when your family can't have stuff, we out here buying all the things. But we're not investing.
But that's because we're not educated.
Yes,
enough.
that. Not educated, so you don't know about investing because, you know, mama them, grandma them didn't know either.
Right.
So it's about being exposed, getting knowledge, and trying to do better than the generation before us, generation past, because all they can do, it's not their fault. You can't teach what you don't know.
Right.
So trying to do better. And then as an entrepreneur, thinking about those things too, because now, you know, as an entrepreneur, you don't have no 401k, nobody matching nothing.
Right.
So you gotta get on yourself to be like, okay, I need to get a financial advisor. I need to figure out how to do my investment. How am I gonna retire from my business? What is my plan? And
what's my
about
exit
that.
strategy?
Exactly. Thinking about that sooner than late.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even with me, I felt like I waited too late to do it. But I'm doing it.
But you did it. Yeah. But you did. But I think that comes with unlearning, relearning,
and having unlearning and relearning.
Yeah, and having these type of conversations because this is what's going to change the world.
Yeah.
This is what we're teaching our children, and even not even our children, our mentees, and anyone listening.
And even with friends, sharing information like, girl, I just got this stock. What
exactly.
Are you investing? Do you want me to introduce you to my financial advisor? Like, what are you planning on? How do you plan on exiting? Because all my friends are like entrepreneurs too. So we're discussing our business, but also like what else in regards. So I think financial is a big thing. One,
I do too.
You know, as a community, if we're financially working together, all we can do is make our communities better because more people now have money to make an impact. It's not about the money, it's about the freedom that money gives you to do more, to help more people. If I don't have it,
because you can't help nobody if you broke.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I mean, you can to a certain degree, but
a lot of times you're gonna be focused on taking care of you and yours because it's tight.
Because when you can give from your overflow, and that's the thing why I have my nonprofit organization, Lend a Hand Uplift the Child Foundation. Because when I was growing up, girl, I was in a lot of trouble. I was getting in a lot of trouble, and it was because my mom could not afford to put me in extracurricular activities. So my extracurricular activities was in the streets, right? And I'm like, man, I want to create something and be able to pay for children whose families can't afford to put them in basketball, in ballet, in piano, and I want to be able to pay for them to do. And then it's also helping small businesses. But I can't do that if I'm broke. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
So it does create this.
We have a
domino
nonprofit
effect.
component as well in regards to we give back to girls and women. So we focus on girls because they're going to become women. And just the impact of how girls are like in middle school, they start to be like, you know, I don't want to be as smart because I'm trying to impress the boy, or all of these different factors that can come into play. Statistics show during the middle school ages. And so we just want to encourage girls to be their most confident, worthy selves because it's going to affect how they carry themselves through school and when they graduate and get jobs. So we focus a lot on giving back in regards to that component.
I love that. So it sounds like, okay, so let me explain because I do this all the time. And we got to wrap up. Unfortunately, we got to wrap. Like, I can talk to you all day long. Like, I feel like this in all my interviews of like, damn, this needs to be like 2 or 3 hours. So I definitely want to have you come back. So I always talk about this, you guys, and hopefully you guys are working on these steps as you're going through the process of releasing your own chain because we're always in a state of chain releasing. So the 7 steps, they're really processes. And I know you guys have heard these. You guys probably know these things by heart now. But one is listening. Peeling, detaching, forgiving, trusting, healing, and evolving. Where do you feel like you are at right now, personally, in your journey? And we'll end there.
Probably evolving. Evolving.
Why you say evolving?
I think personally and professionally, I think as you are getting older, at least for me, you get to a place where you're not worried about what everybody think the way you are when you're younger.
Absolutely.
You're grown enough to be like, I'm setting boundaries on what works for me and what doesn't. Like, I even had some friends hit me, girl, you coming out tonight? And I'm like, should I go meet them? I need to wash my hair. I need to rest. You know, no, I'm not coming. Where when I was younger, I would have went and been trying to figure out when I'm going to
please everybody
to wash my hair and then be behind on work and be sleepy. And now I'd be like, no. Yeah, I need to be like the meme say. I need to be asked 3 to 5 business days in advance to go hang out because I need to plan and properly plan that it makes sense for my life. Because I would have went out and had that good time at the expense of what? Loss of sleep. Now my work is suffering. Still trying to, you know, that type of thing. So I feel like evolving now, just being grown enough to be like, these are my boundaries set personally and professionally on how I deal with things, how I handle things. In a more mature fashion. I don't have to pop off at everybody as soon as I hear something I don't like, because I definitely was one of those people that like to have the last word. But being better to just be like, okay, you know what, we can have this conversation calmly and agree to disagree and keep it moving. I'm not gonna go back and forth. That's what we're not gonna
do. Especially about a decision that I'm making about my own life.
Exactly. So I feel like definitely evolving. And then in my business it's evolving because I started, you know, from the love of the craft and love of people, and that's still the North Star, but being able to evolve that into something more that has a bigger impact, and the bigger impact we have, the more we can give back.
Absolutely.
So I really want to make sure everything I'm doing is creating a legacy, empowering my community, and making sure that the people that I'm servicing are empowered through it.
That's awesome. Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Like I said, I met you 3 years ago, and I've seen you evolve. So I knew you were in the evolving stage, but I just wanted to hear from you, and also so they can understand too these 7 different processes.
Yeah, it's definitely a process that you got to go through mentally, like you said, all of the different chains, and going through them and feel yourself getting better.
Yeah, I love it. So how can we keep in mind that we have listeners on the podcast, and then we have people watching? How can we get in touch with you? Tell us again where we can go get this app.
Yes. So you can download the app Styled by Love E. Styled spelled with the D, STYLED, because sometimes people put styles. If you put the D, it's gonna pop up because I'm the only one on there. Styled by Love E. I'm Love E, so that's how the name came about. And then you can go to Love E Fashion, and that is LOVEE Fashion. No S on the end. Love E Fashion. Type that .com and you'll find everything there, as well as access to get to Style by Love E. And they have the app has its own website too. So stylebylovee.com.
And they don't have to live in Atlanta. It's
no,
for
you
everybody.
don't. We offer a virtual component. Obviously, with the pandemic, we wanted to make sure we were with the times. So you don't have to live in Atlanta. I'm actually working with a client from South Carolina next week.
Oh, very good.
Virtually.
Very good. See, the possibilities are endless. So hope that you guys have taken some notes, gotten some things from this. Again, share with us. If you're watching on YouTube, please comment.
Yes.
Please comment. That's so important. If you're listening, please hit us up. Reach out to us. Let us know how you're enjoying the podcast. Any questions you may have for either one of us, we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. But thank you guys for listening. I'll see y'all next time.
And thank you again for having me.
You're very welcome.
No more chains holding me.